Alright, what is up guys? It is the Catman here. In today's video, I will be explaining why I think that Marvel Rivals will actually become the #1 game in 2025. So, if you're not familiar with Marvel Rivals, or what Marvel Rivals is, it is a new free-to-play shooter on both console and PC. And the Marvel Rival game basically features 4 core game modes, the first being domination, which is pretty straightforward. The two opposing teams fight each other for control of a single point in space called the mission area. They also have a game mode called convoy, which is a mode where basically one team needs to escort a moving vehicle to the end of the map while the opposite team needs to stop them. They have a game mode called convergence, which is basically played like convoy, with the difference being that the attacking team needs to capture a mission area first. And then you also have Conquest, which is basically a standard team deathmatch mode where players within the game pretty much want to score as many eliminations as possible. And not to anyone's surprise, this game features 33 different characters within it, all coming from the Marvel Universe. And in my experience, I've seen a lot of shooters come out, right? And I'm going to say that upon release, this is probably one of the most well-polished games that I've seen in a very, very long time, especially one that is free to play. And even more surprisingly, this game is starting to gain a massive audience. And by massive, I mean like 20 million players within the last month, which is actually pretty insane. So before I go into talking a little bit more about the game and why I think it's so successful, I want to talk a little bit about the gameplay here. So I'm showing a ranked game where I am using the Punisher character. It ends up being like a 53 KO game, which is probably the most competitive and fun game that I've played in a very, very, very long time. And I do want to apologize in advance because when I was recording this gameplay, I messed up some of the settings and was not able to record the audio. So I'm basically just going to do a full commentary here to kind of fill in. But as you can see here by the length of the video, this game actually lasted close to like 20 minutes, which is pretty insane. I haven't played an online shooter game that has lasted this long in a very long time, so it was probably one of the most competitive and well-balanced gameplay experiences I've had, especially in a ranked match, in a very long time. So guys, look, when this came out, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wrote it off because I thought it was going to be some sort of like a gimmick, and I wasn't a huge fan of the Marvel universe to begin with. I've always been more of a DC kind of guy, and I haven't really been a huge superhero guy either. But when they dropped this game, I thought, you know, it was actually a pretty good time because I just finished the Invincible series. So I had been kind of in a superhero mood lately, and I thought I'd give it a shot, and man, was I very, very pleasantly surprised. And I think that this game being a free-to-play game is actually a massive W for the Marvel series for this very reason. Not only is it going to naturally attract people that are into like superheroes in the Marvel universe, but it's also going to attract people like myself who aren't really big on Marvel, but are just more generally interested in playing a competitive shooter game. And one thing that initially stuck out to me, and I'm not a huge Overwatch guy, I've never really played Overwatch, so I'm not really used to this per se, but this game is very team-based, which has, you know, a lot of different character roles, like DPS, support, and tanks. So with that being said, I found that a lot of people are actually returning back to game chat, which is very nice and refreshing coming from Call of Duty, where lobbies have more or less been silent for the last few years. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, guys. I've been also getting into the Marvel series a lot more lately too, after playing this game. So I've seen some of the, you know, the Iron Man movies, Spider-Man, Deadpool, but I really haven't gotten to this like whole MCU Avenger thing. So, you know, like I mentioned, for Marvel, I think this is going to be a huge W, as I anticipate that not only are they going to get a massive player base from the Marvel fans, but they're also going to be introducing a lot of people into the Marvel series. So I think it's kind of cool that I can go play with a character like Rocket Raccoon, right? And then have like 3 to 4 movies to watch afterwards to get his whole backstory. I actually just started Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and I don't know, I just feel like it makes it more it makes me feel more connected to the game, which I'm not sure if anyone else feels this way. I'm sure that people do, but I start thinking to myself, who else is going to get added to this game? And I could see a lot of anticipation around this. It's kind of exciting. I wonder if they're going to add supervillain characters as well. I think it would be cool to see some from like the Spider-Man universe, like the Green Goblin or Dr. Octavius, or even some of like the anti-hero characters like Deadpool. I mean, that would be awesome to see in this game. And another thing that's really cool that this game is doing that's very unique is the battle pass system in this game actually doesn't expire. Like, thank you so much for removing this FOMO aspect from the game, and it's very rare that you actually see that. Actually, I don't even think any other games are doing that nowadays. So it really just shows that Marvel Rivals does actually care a lot about their player base from the start. And yeah, I mean, like, gameplay-wise, this game just feels so good. The hit registration feels good. The health bars are displayed, so there's no question around skill-based damage or anything crazy like that. The matchmaking in this, guys, is instant. Like, you get put into a game literally as soon as you queue up, which makes me feel like that there's not any kind of weird engagement-based algorithm in the background that's pulling strings or anything weird like that. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't feel like the games that I lose were predetermined or designed for me to lose. The games that I do lose, I can look around and be like, oh, well, we had one healer and 4 DPS, or we didn't have a tank, or something like that around team balancing that made it very clear why we ended up losing the game. So with all that being said, I want to explain why I think this game is actually going to become so big in 2025. Like I mentioned earlier, this game is coming out of the gates very strong with a lot of promise to actually care about the player base, and I think that's really where it starts. They're not just saying that they care about the players, they're actually doing things to show that they care about the player base. So their actions are speaking louder than their words. And a lot of games, nowadays build a lot of hype. They promise a lot, but they never really end up delivering. Marvel Rivals, on the other hand, has basically spread through mostly word of mouth. I feel like it's probably one of the best things that it has going for it right now. It doesn't seem like they've dumped a whole lot of marketing into it. If you take a game, for example, Black Ops 6, prior to its launch, and even after its launch, I was seeing ads for Black Ops 6 everywhere. I mean, I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, there were ads there, the UFC events, everywhere. I mean, YouTube ads all over the internet. And Black Ops 6 promised a lot of things that were under-delivered. They said they were going to be returning back to their roots, which obviously wasn't true, and basically came out with a game that was like half finished upon release, full of hackers, and just a complete mess. So Marvel Rivals, on the other hand, has released with basically like no marketing. I mean, the only thing that I've seen ad-wise for Marvel Rivals was maybe a couple of programmatic banner ads on YouTube, but other than that, I really haven't seen anything directly advertising the game. The real promotion is coming from content creators and YouTubers who are actually playing the game and genuinely enjoying it. And I think that this is how you actually get games to succeed. While, Call of Duty right now is failing very hard, whether you like it or not, you need the competitive people, you need the content creators, you need the YouTubers to be on your side for games to succeed nowadays. And look, I'm a Call of Duty guy, obviously, but when you have people that have been ambassadors for the franchise for you for years, let's take Nadeshot, for example, coming out and saying that he's not going to be playing the game anymore. It's very telling of the sentiment around the game. So as much as people say that streamers have ruined gaming, they've ruined COD, I think it's really the other way around. Call of Duty has ruined itself for streamers, and streamers have such an influence on the overall player base that people are the only people left in Call of Duty at this point are going to be in two different categories. Number one, the diehard fanboys who will stick around no matter what Activision puts out, and then the super casual player base who probably don't really watch YouTube or consume any sort of Call of Duty content, so they may not even notice the issues in the game, which I think that this category, this audience of people is becoming very, very rare nowadays, just with the access to YouTube and TikTok and all these other social media platforms. So I think that a game like Marvel Rivals not only does have a solid casual player base because of the Marvel universe, people wanting to play as their favorite characters from the movies, but it's also catering to the competitive scene in a big way as well. I've seen a lot of tournaments and competitive events for this game already on YouTube, which is crazy. I mean, this game has just launched recently, and we're already seeing a competitive scene start to emerge. So I know that I'm going to keep comparing this game to Call of Duty in this video, but that's the game I know the best and the franchise that I'm most familiar with, and I think there's a lot to learn from the current downfall of Call of Duty that we're witnessing before our eyes. Let's just also take their ranked play, for example, and COD's ranked play in Black Ops 6 specifically. It's completely unplayable at this point, and I mean, I've played up to Master Prestige, and I really wanted something in the game to help me, I don't know, motivate me to continue to play the game, something to, progress in the game. But basically everyone right now in ranked is either running into hackers, cheaters, or let's just say I went and played a solo queued ranked game, right? And I was doing pretty well, and someone on the other team basically lagged out the entire lobby. I don't know if they DDoSed the server or something, but it disconnected the game, and we were clearly winning the game, so it wouldn't count as a loss for them. And I think this pretty much put me over the edge. I'm like, I just hit Master Prestige, I unlocked Dark Matter, and it's like, what else is there to grind for? And it's like, the answer should be ranked play, but if ranked play is so broken and you're looking at people that have made it to Crimson and they're running into hackers every other game, what incentive is there to continue to play the game? I mean, maybe zombies, but I'm not really into that. So the multiplayer for me now in Call of Duty is completely washed. So here comes Marvel Rivals. And to be honest, I don't really think or know if that you'd have that much of an advantage by cheating. And I'm talking more about aimbots or the Cronus Zen, because this game is so team-based and strategy-based. If you were to play and stack characters well on a team, you could probably beat a team of cheaters who weren't communicating or playing with proper character synergy. And I think that just shows how important teamwork is in this game. So I don't really anticipate that cheating is going to become this huge issue in Marvel Rivals. Now, I could be wrong, but unless people start manipulating the game in some extreme way, like activating God mode where they can't take any damage, I don't think it's really going to become a serious issue. So that really leads me to my next point as well. I think people overall are starting to experience a lot of battle royale fatigue. Games like Fortnite, Warzone have been relevant for so long that people are starting to look for something new, especially when you consider a game like Fortnite that's actually come out with their own first-person shooter. Marvel Rivals delivers something that's going to capture a lot of that audience. So you're probably going to see a lot of people from Fortnite coming over. You're definitely going to see a lot of people from Call of Duty coming over, especially with the current state of Call of Duty. And look, I'm not a huge Overwatch guy, but I've heard that there's a lot of concerning news about the future of this franchise. So I bet that you're probably going to see a lot of people coming from Overwatch too. And you have all these big titles that are not doing particularly well right now. So when you have a game like Marvel Rivals that's showing a lot of promise and being delivered at the right time, it's a recipe for success. And I don't know if y'all are noticing this too, but this Thor character throughout this game was absolutely obsessed with me. I don't know what his deal was, but he would chase my ass down every single time he saw me. So a little bit off topic, but very annoying. Another thing that's really nice about Marvel Rivals is all the unlockables are basically cosmetic, so there's no progression system tied to unlocking abilities or weapons for characters, so you can boot up the game and have access to all of the characters from the start. So people might think, well, if everything's already unlocked at launch, what's the point of playing and progressing through the game? And I think the answer is actually very simple. This game is a bit more complex in terms of the gameplay style. So it actually takes time to learn and master a character. So let's say I've been starting with the Punisher as my main. I put and hundreds of hours and get really good with him. Maybe not hundreds, but maybe like tens of hours, right? And then I'm ready for a new challenge. I can move on to another character. Even though everything is already unlocked, learning and mastering a new character still feels like a fresh new experience. So unless there becomes a very super well-defined meta where everyone just basically picks the same characters, there's always going to be something new to kind of explore and try out, which is a really cool thing that they're doing. And it's going to change from season to season because there are these seasonal bonuses for each individual character. So each season, there's going to be some rebalancing in terms of team dynamics and character abilities, which is actually really nice that the base gameplay doesn't really change too much. Compare this to a game like Call of Duty, for example, where you have tons of different weapons that are constantly being rebalanced. People are always choosing and chasing the new meta, which changes every update, and every update happens like every week. So on top of that, you take the weapons that you're leveling up and you're using that are now being banned in competitive play. Think about it, guys. There's like 12 assault rifles in Call of Duty, and you're allowed to use 2 of them. So in Marvel Rivals, you're not really going to be running into that problem. If you find a character that you really like and they're good, you can use that character in competitive play and not really have to worry about them being banned. I think there may be like 1 or 2 characters right now that are banned, but the consistency is what makes the game feel less frustrating and more rewarding. And I know this is kind of off topic, but it's something that matters to me personally. But the hit marker sound in this game is also just like really, really good. For example, if you're using the Punisher in his ult, it has a higher fire rates. And if you're landing headshots, the hit marker sound is just so crisp. It's kind of addicting. I'm actually going to edit in a clip here to show what I'm talking about. But it's these subtle design choices like the sound effects that make this game very enjoyable to play. And I mean, guys, just listen here for a second. Listen to these hit markers, how good they sound.
That's 3! Wow, 4 in a row! Plasma? Amazing! 6 in a row! Wait!
So from like an audio perspective, I think that this game excels very well. It's very easy to also hear enemy footsteps and pinpoint where they're coming from. There's also audio cues for certain ults and abilities. For example, if an enemy's about to use their ult, you can actually hear them say something out loud, so you know to like not push into the objective right away. Instead, you can kind of regroup with your team, wait for the ult to expire, and then make your move. So the audio design is very well done. It adds a layer of strategy to the gameplay. If you're looking at the actual character design too from like a visual perspective, yeah, it's kind of cartoony, but to be honest, I like it. I'm not a huge fan of these like hyper realistic graphics in games. I prefer to like the games to have more of like an arcade feel. This is the reason I've probably never really gotten into like VR. And you know, when I'm playing video games, I don't really want to feel like I'm in the real world. For me, video games are an escape from reality. So it's like, if I feel like I'm being transported into something that's very visually stunning and kind of cartoon-like, it's actually really cool. And I may be crazy for thinking this, but I feel like the character design and menus in Marvel Rivals have a lot of similarities to Super Smash Bros. The way you select characters, the victory animations, it's all very like Nintendo-esque, which I personally love. So I also want to talk about the team composition in this game and what an optimal team looks like. You could say that maybe like 2 healers, 3 DPS, 1 tank, or some variation like that. So people coming from games like Overwatch will naturally gravitate, in my opinion, I could be wrong, I don't know, but I think they'll probably naturally gravitate toward support roles because they're familiar with team stacking, and I think a lot of the Call of Duty type people are going to come in and just immediately choose DPS roles. So I think that having this mix of different players and backgrounds can actually really lead to some interesting team dynamics. So, you know, when I first started playing, I was very intimidated by the number of abilities that each character had. But the more I play with one specific character, the more comfortable I start feeling. Coming from COD, I feel like probably my skill suit is best suited for damage-based characters, because that's basically all of Call of Duty is just point and shoot. So if I'm paired with someone that's more familiar with hero shooters, they can kind of explain to me the different roles and how to maximize my potential to best suit the needs of the team. So I don't know. I think that the overall player base will end up looking like, or having something for everyone to feel good about playing the game. So I think that's really unique in games right now, is like there's a place for everyone to play an important role. For example, a game like Fortnite, there's no specific roles. It's all damage focus. Warzone's kind of the same way. Really, the only other popular game right now that has these specific roles is a game like Overwatch, where I think it would be interesting for people that, like myself, that have not really used to different role types in a game, to be introduced to that type of world. And I think that's really cool. And it's probably part of the reason why I don't feel like I get as tilted playing this game compared to games like Call of Duty or Fortnite, because it's so easy to get frustrated when you have a couple bad games in a row in a shooter. But with Marvel Rivals, I don't know. I feel like I can sit back and casually play while also having this competitive experience. There's not a lot of downtime in it either. So I think that's part of the reason why I get frustrated with a game like Fortnite. If I don't see anyone for 5 minutes and then I just get sniped in the head, that's a very frustrating thing to happen. Where in Marvel Rivals, there's very, the matchmaking's quick, the gameplay's quick. There's not a whole lot of downtime in the game. And that helps a lot with me because it soothes my ADHD a bit. And, Battle Royale games, they have these longer stretches of things not happening, and I start to kind of lose focus, and moments can get very boring when playing Battle Royale. Or even Call of Duty, it just gets so repetitive. So I think the timing is actually perfect for this kind of game to come out, where it's a team-based, objective-driven shooter. And yeah, I mean, just to sum it all up, really, I know that we're coming close on time here, but Marvel Rivals is just, it's fun, right? It's a very fun game. It's competitive, it's fresh, and above everything else, this game is actually polished upon release. So I think that from this point, it has a ton of potential. It caters to a very wide audience of players, and there really is truly a role within the game for every person that plays. So unless they add some sort of like strict skill-based matchmaking or engagement-based matchmaking system, I think the casual play will remain very enjoyable for people that want to play with their friends. Nowadays, when I hop on Call of Duty and I'm playing with friends and they get into my lobbies, it's a very unenjoyable experience for them. It's a very unenjoyable experience for me. So I think that if you keep the casual play pretty much random and you don't do any kind of weird algorithm that makes it just feel rigged, people are really going to enjoy playing casual in this game. And then you also have your competitive scene for whenever you want to sweat or you have a full team and you're looking to have more of a competitive experience. So yeah, I mean, I think overall this game is very solid, and I hope everyone that watched this video enjoyed this breakdown. If you did, please drop a like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. I'm a smaller creator here, so any support helps tremendously. And yeah, that's basically all for today. Thank you for watching, and peace.